into what the business is. Now let's make a U-turn and go all the way back to Trinidad and Tobago, and let's touch on the crazy story of an infamous gangster who once lived out there, and he went by the name of Von Maurice, better known as Sandman. Now, a former cop named Gary Griffith once confessed that he contacted the notorious gang leader Sandman to beg him not to retaliate after an attempt on his daughter's life took place back in June of 2019. Now, the former cop used Israeli software called Pegasus to spy on other gang members. He told the prime minister that he only spoke with Sandman to avoid a massive bloodshed in Trinidad. So long story short, the cop knew that the gang members were about to retaliate on Sandman because of his software that he used to spy on other gang members. And he intercepted a conversation between other gang members that could have and would have saved the life of Sandman had he would have listened. But little did this cop know, Sandman already had a full police force working for him. So Sandman felt that he didn't need any new information or advice from any other cops, not even the ones on his payroll. He knew everything according to Sandman. That's what he was paying people for. Now, let's get right into the story of Sandman. Now, he was a ruthless, notorious, well feared, but respected shot caller, or as the police would say, a gang leader. He was born in a small house on School Street in one of Trinidad's most dangerous communities. They said he got his name from his family members because of his love for skipping school to go play in the sand on the beach. Sandman's first jail term came when he was arrested with a gun and marijuana. He spent 7 years in jail behind that. It said that soon as he got out of prison is when he leveled his gangster up and became more for the community and became the leader of the gang and the big drug lord who he is reigned to be. Now Sandman was also a businessman. He owned over 30 fishing boats which he used to process his fishing business. He also had businesses in construction and farming. A lot of people in the community would look at him beyond a Robin Hood, but more so as a God sent figure because of how he would supply the areas with jobs and money. He also threw big Christmas parties and went throughout the areas giving out bags of toys for the children. But the cops knew him as a top shotter, original Dundada. One of the big time drug dealers and gun smugglers that Trinidad has ever seen. He had a very large drug pipeline that stretched from Trinidad and Venezuela all the way to Colombia. Now, that pipeline kept him at the top of the whole North Coast drug game for over 20 years. He ran that thing for over 20 years. He was well connected and well respected. You know, it's even alleged that Sandman took on contract hits for his Venezuelan and Colombian cartel friends in their own country. It's even alleged that Sandman killed another gang leader in Trinidad named Selwyn Alexis, who was named or nicknamed Robocop in the year of 2016. It's even alleged that he had his hands in the underworlds of human trafficking, with them saying he was trafficking young Venezuelan women. He was charged with being a gang leader during the 2011 state of emergency in Trinidad, but was soon released due to lack of evidence. In 2018, he was arrested on firearms and ammunition charges, but was released after he placed a $250,000 bail. His empire kept everyone fed in his area and gave him the need to protect them if the time comes. He was good to his people, and they were good to him. His people loved him because of what he did for them. They felt Sandman did way more for him, way more for them than Trinidad, their own country, their own government has ever done for them. You know what I'm saying? Now, Sandman had big problems and many long feuds with other gangsters and other gangs in his own city. He also had a vicious feud with the infamous Akini Doe Adams. It's even said that Akini was behind the murders of Sandman, his wife, and two bodyguards. Although another young man that belonged to another gang that also had ties to Rasta City was charged with those murders. Now, this young man goes by the name of Darrell Shorto Raymond. It's rumored that Akini paid for all of them to be killed, but only Trinidad will know the truth behind that. Now, before Sandman was killed, he was plotting a massive execution on all of his enemies. Sandman was considered one of Trinidad's biggest drug lords ever. A month before Sandman and his wife were killed, their daughter was the target of an assassination attempt right outside her school, leaving inside inside of a van, that took them from school and to home leaving school. They were caught in one of them, and an 18-year-old was shot and two other kids were shot, but thankfully she escaped without harm, and it's messed up that they even got hurt behind that. But it said that Sandman knew exactly who did it, and he immediately plotted to have all of them killed. But the streets talk, you know, and the word got right back to the killers before Sandman could get the word to his killers. Now they struck first. They ambushed Sandman's castle home that sits very high on the hill. Now I'm not saying no names, man, but either Akini got the word that Sandman wanted his revenge and he paid his killers, or Shorto and his team was the ones who tried the assassination attempt on his daughter. You know what I'm saying? And they felt that they had to get back. You feel me? But either one of those guys knew they messed up when they did it. Especially when Sandman found out who it was and the word got back to them that he knew. They knew for a fact that Sandman was serious, but to try and kill his daughter, man, they knew they had to strike first that same night. They got the news or they will all be dead. Because what they did, they messed up. They messed up two reasons. Let me tell you. They messed up by trying to go for his daughter. You know, they messed up by missing his daughter. And they messed up by them finding out who it was. You know what I'm saying? Now, they knew they immediately had to ambush Sandman's house that night and kill them all. If not, they would all be dead. Now, they ambushed Sandman's home with a two-team crew of 8 killers. Four of them approached the front gate at 2:15 a.m. on July 25th. The other group of four snuck around the back of the house. One of Sandman's closest bodyguards, who went by Blood or Nigel, was at the front gate while another man was at the back gate. The four-team crew of killers then banged on the front gate, acting like the police. They even had lights like the police. You know what I'm saying? Now, Blood opened the gate and they instantly shot and killed him. The other guard, Kadir, who was in the back, was instantly killed as well. When they entered the house, they rushed upstairs where Sandman was hiding in his room. Sandman armed himself with weapons, but it was too late. He even tried to hide under the bed. You know, now his wife and kids were hiding inside a walk in closet. Now they killed Sandman and his wife, but they didn't touch or harm the kids. The two kids were ages 4 and 16 years old when all this occurred. Now, one of the killers was shot during the shootout and was later dropped off at a hospital where he was then charged with 4 murders. Now, to the community who knew Sandman, they would say the Sandman he was nothing or no one to be feared. Like he was a normal person to them. Like he was a regular person that would come to the bars and restaurants and have a good time just like everyone else. He had many talks with many of his neighbors about one day turning his illegal trade into something legitimate. You know, it said that one of the 8 men who killed Sandman was actually an ex-friend of Sandman. Now that should let you know that you can't trust everyone. Now who knows why he turned on Sandman and gave the drop to them? You know what I'm saying? Maybe he did it out of hate. Maybe he did it out of fear of the guys who forced him to give him the drop. You know what I'm saying? Maybe who knows? Maybe it was out of money. Who knows? Now, it's not it's not said that Shorto was the one who actually shot and killed Sandman. He's only charged with the 4 murders because he was also shot and dropped off at a hospital where he was then arrested for it. Now, Shorto was a part of the 8 man team who killed them. You know what I'm saying? Who killed the 4 of them. But to think that Shorto actually killed any one of those 4, and for after all of them being killed, and for them to trust Shorto to drop him off at a hospital, man, I don't believe Shorto killed none of them. You know what I'm saying? Now, for them to think that after them dropping off Shorto at a hospital, that no traces will lead back to them, man, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Regardless if they think Shorto would have snitched or not. because I felt they would have killed Shorto too if they felt they couldn't trust him. I think if Shorto did kill any one of them, they wouldn't have dropped him off at the hospital because there's too many chances of them being caught. I think Shorto got shot in the leg as soon as the bodyguards of Sandman started shooting back. I don't think Shorto made it into the house for him to actually know what had took place until his guys told him, and then the police confirming it after charging him for it. Now, after they killed Sandman, those two teams took off on a boat. Now, it was rumors that Akini had killed a group of fishermen and took their boat and gave it to the team of killers to use it in the Sandman murder. Now, I won't go to say if that's true or not, or if Akini did have anything to do with this. I'll just let Trinidad speak on that and let them verify and them touch on what really happened behind that. Now, Sandman was 46 years old when he was killed. His wife was 50 years old. His bodyguard, Blood, was 36 years old. And the bodyguard who was killed in the back of the home was only 25 years old. Now, just a few months after Sandman's death, his cousin and his wife were both sitting inside of their white Toyota Corolla when a white Nissan Ring Road slammed into them while gunmen jumped out opening fire on both of them. Whew, it's crazy, man. It's a repeating cycle. It's never gonna end, man. Now that was the crazy story of a top shotter straight out of Trinidad. Respect.